Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome to another action figure review, as today we're going to be taking a look at a very special, unique, and hidden gem within the Japanese world of, I guess you can say Sentai, even though it's not technically considered in that Sentai realm. But this is the ZAP Power Force or Police Force released by Takara in 1994. Now there's two variations of these action figures. We have the American US versions, which is called the ZAP Police Force or Power Force, and then we have the Japanese version, which are called the ZAC Police Force. And even though I don't really know the actual pronunciation of the Japanese counterpart, but here we're going to be taking a look at the US versions, as there are different name variants within these 5 figures as well. Now, if you're not familiar with these figures, that's totally okay, because these are just one of those really rare random gems that I remember finding at KB Toys when I was younger, and they just looked so badass that I just wanted them because I was very into the whole cyber robotic and awesome just Power Ranger-esque style characters. So one thing I do want to note here is that I haven't actually seen this show whatsoever, but I did research about it and wanted to see how deep the storyline goes within this type of series. And to quickly go over it, it involves the city of Japan going under crucial criminal minds, and they created a special task force, which are these characters, and to help make the city a better place. However, the blue, the green, and the black police task force rangers, you can say, are actually the 3 characters that are a part of the initial lineup. And then we have this red guy right here who comes from the future, as well as this white guy who's also considered the villain of the show. Now, the thing that makes it very fascinating when I was reading upon it is that these 2 characters that you see right here, the red and the white one, come from the future, and this white character comes to stop this red one, as he basically betrayed them in the future. Now, the storyline does get a little more complicated than that. However, I will say the most coolest part about how these Japanese shows operate is that they are way ahead of their time. So the initial storyline is about how the future is corrupted by the government creating this AI, and they're basically trying to stop the artificial intelligence from taking over the world. Now that is freaking badass, and that was from 1988 or something. So freaking crazy to see how this line of figures were already so well ahead of their time, as we're basically heading into that AI world now in 2024/2025. So pretty insane for it to really think about. So now let's take a look at all these figures individually and just see how great they really are. And again, I did not see this actual show, but from what I've seen from the trailers and the first episode, and it just seems pretty cool. But I think the robots or the toys itself is one of those situations where the toys look so much better than the actual humans that are wearing the costumes. Alright, so up first we're going to be taking a look at the Jupiter Cop, aka Biotron. Now this figure is absolutely awesome. I love how his head sculpt has like the antennas, it has more of that futuristic style. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the intro of the video, this character is from the future with the same aesthetic armor as the other Cybercops, but he kind of has his own unique style to it, so it's more of a futuristic-esque to this type of character. But the face sculpt really has that whole Japanese Takara Power Rangers design to it. I love that beetle style antennas right there. The earpiece that does say police on the sides also is a nice touch to it. The sirens unfortunately does not light up or anything, but it's translucent plastic, giving you that police effect. The torso with the interesting sculpting of these mechanical features is pretty cool. And then he also has these elbow pads, and yeah, other than that, it's like so basically this is supposed to be skin tight like the Power Rangers would wear, and then these additional armor pieces are what goes on it. So if you've seen the actual TV series from Takara or Japan, you will see that they do look a bit funny and weird because it's more of a bulkier design, but the toys really captures that aesthetic of these designs, and that's what I really do like about it. And the cool thing is that some of these pieces are also removable. So when I tell you that the plastic is very fragile, take my word for it, because it really is. If you try to remove these side pieces from the pegs, it could easily snap off, which is why I did not fix the back piece. So got to be careful with that one. And then What I do like about this figure is, aside from removing these back pieces and the torsos and then the elbow pads, is you can literally strip them down into the most basic form of their police uniform, but these really do just capture a unique aesthetic to it. And he has like these nice little wings, kind of, you can collapse into the back of the piece right there, which is pretty cool. And then going back into the face, it has the translucent eyes, so within the sunlight you can probably see the eyes light up at some point. But yeah, it just really adds a nice touch to it. And I love how the interior of the figure has these really cool black and gray designs to it, with some line sculpting there as well. And then another cool part about this figure is that he does come with weapons. So what you see here on his actual wrist is that you can open up the flap, and it has a little peg in here. So then you incorporate the weapons that go into the flap here, and then you close it, and then as you put it inside the actual hand, you can have him hold different and unique weapons, which I absolutely love and think it's really an innovative idea. So let's quickly take a look at the weapons and see how great it really is. Alright, so when looking at his weapons, the coolest thing is that these figures come inside a very nice foldable briefcase, which is really, really innovative and awesome, because again, they are part of a police task force, which also says ZAP right here. So really, really awesome. And you know, you can have the figures actually hold it. So when you remove the lid, you can just see that the weapons are stored in there. So like I mentioned before, you place these weapons inside the forearms of the figures, and it makes it equipped with more badassery, if that makes any sense. So he does come with these additional gauntlets and stuff, and again, you just have to incorporate there. And because, as I mentioned, the plastic is very fragile, it's going to be difficult for me to do so on screen, but take my word for it, it looks pretty cool. So another weapon accessory comes with is these shields that he comes with. So yeah, it's freaking cool. So I love it. I think it's a cool looking figure, and it's pretty cool. So that is Biotron, aka the Jupiter Cop. Up next we have Destron, aka the Mars Cop, and the cool thing is I believe this guy is the actual supposed leader of the group of the police force or task force or power force, whatever the name they're going by. And this one's a really, really cool looking figure. I love the little laser type weapon that he has incorporated on the top there. Now maybe in the Japanese version it's something else, but since green is my favorite color, of course this guy has to be my favorite one. I love the facial features of the mouthpiece, and then the visor, freaking badass. The police force logo on the side of his ears, and then the police force sticker there as well. I'm not sure if the Japanese version has a different writing on the torso, but yeah, the sculpting itself and the silvers, the greens, all looking badass. And then he has like a different types of shoulder pads there. He has these side pieces attached to his hip and the crotch piece or the waist belt, which is nicely done. He has these additional removable black pieces that I'm not really sure what they do, but I'm sure he utilizes these in the actual show. The bottom half is more of a bulkier boot, so it does add some weight to it, which you know, it's really, really just awesome to even hold in hand. And I believe these are one of those figures that have like one of the most articulation for its time, because the box even says, I believe, like 30 points of articulation or something like that. So really bizarre and cool at the same time. So again, the facial features, all that looking freaking badass. And even the back piece really has like that futuristic armor aesthetic to it, and even says on the back right here, 1988 Toho Takara, China. So yeah, that's amazing. So even though these were released in the US in 1994, I believe these are the 1988 also, you know, re-releases from Japan. So, or actually I think this is a camera, I'm not too sure. So this torso piece can be removed, the back piece can be removed, because you can see how it just kind of sticks out. It doesn't really connect too much, but yeah, all this, it moves up and down, so it's like minor articulation there within the little side pieces, but all that is pretty cool. So alright, so now taking a look at his weapons and accessories, this guy comes with a gun, which again all connect into the forearms of the figures as you remove the strap. And then he has this other piece, which I believe is more like a laser something, I'm not really sure. And also this piece that's kind of floating around. So I'm not really sure what these do. I have not incorporated these because, as I mentioned, the plastic is very fragile. but just the overall design and aesthetic of these pieces in a suitcase is just beyond amazing. So yeah, just look at that. They're all the same suitcases, but still really, really cool. So that is Destron, aka the Mars Cop. Up next, we're going to be taking a look at Spectron, aka the Mercury Cop, and this one is another cool looking figure because it has the lighter blue tones. Now, if you're familiar with any of the Takara Japanese style or even Sentai versions, you'll know that they always use like a darker blue. So for them to finally utilize a lighter blue for these figures is pretty awesome. I love how the head sculpt is a little bit more on the basic side, but still adds that futuristic cop element to it with the visor and the black stripe there on top with still saying police force on the side. The chest torso piece, which also says police there. He has these little wing flaps right there. Now these are very easy to break and snap off, so you got to be careful when you own these because any trigger of dropping it on the sides can easily have these break off, so be careful of that. Elbow pads that stick out, and then the sides with the whites and blue transitions is pretty standard there. The boots, really cool, some nice designing and sculpting there, and yeah, there's just like the whites there on the calves, and the back of the figure has. These are really lopsided, but as I mentioned before, if you were to twist these too hard, you can literally break the peg that goes into the hole, so you got to be very cautious with that. So this white piece is actually removable, as you can move it up and down, but I haven't really utilized it yet and not really needed, but it's still a really, really cool and innovative figure, and it's more simpler compared to the other ones, but it still has like a nice meaner expression to it, which I do like, and everything about it looks cool. Some side sculpting there on the face, and yeah, even on the top it kind of has like a backwards hat type of thing, but yeah, it's still a really cool looking helmet. So alright, so now looking at his weapons and accessories, he has a really cool sword, which is nice because a lot of these times these figures don't come with different types of weapons, but I like how he does come with a sword, which gives it good versatility. And then he comes with this other additional, I don't really know what you want to call it. It's an interesting gauntlet that is attached to his forearm, but it moves up and down like this, and I'm not really sure what it does, but yeah. And keep in mind, as all these weapons are all silver and black and white, so you're not going to find like any color variants or anything, but yeah, it's still a really nice addition to the Cybercop, Police Force, Task Force, Power Force, whatever the hell this brand is called. So that is Spectron, aka the Mercury Cop. Up next we have Zortron, aka the Saturn Cop, and this figure is probably one of my second favorites after the green one because I've always had this fascination when there's like a black type ranger involved into it because they kind of give them more of a cooler design and aesthetic to it. You can just see how the helmet is more on the simpler and basic side, but he does have these antennas sticking out, which also says police right there on the side of his ears. And then on the shoulder pads, he does have these movable shoulder pieces, which does say police, so it kind of gives you like that stop sign, abide by the law type feeling, so abide by the law type gimmick, which is really cool. And then the torso does say police on it, and then it does have this black hole right here. I'm not really sure. There's some inner sculpting there, which I'm not really sure what it does, but I'm sure it utilizes some futuristic technology within the actual series. You can actually fold these down to kind of save more space that way, which is really cool. I love how his elbow pads are sculpted like cool like ninja warriors, and then the side pieces have these red unique sculpting there as well that complements against the black. And then the overall boots are more on the simplistic side, but nothing too much with the blacks on the front side and then the whites being on the side. And on the back of the actual piece, you can see that it is moving up and down, but I like to just kind of snap it in place. So I'm sure this will also utilize his weapons there as well, but you know, it is what it is. But I do like the overall concept of this guy just because he has more of a meaner expression, and the whites really do complement the visor, and a little bit sloppier paint work, but that's really okay. And yeah, it's just a really cool looking figure. I just love everything about it because he seems like a more of a rigorous police cop, and he just has like a nice build or like the aesthetic or design to it, despite all the other ones looking roughly the same. So, and now looking at his weapons, he only has this one accessory, which is like this blade, which is pretty insane. I mean, you can kind of move it around so it slices and dices people in half, and then you can even move these spikes or these blades that combine into one, so now it's like you're slicing people in half and you're stabbing them at the same time. So that is just really cool, and again, it just adds right into the piece right there of the forearm. You can just see how it would really just place right there. So yeah, that is just really cool, really innovative. And so you place it into the suitcase like that, pretty cool, and then just close it in, and then you can see it still has the ZAP Power Force logo. So yeah, so that is Zortron, aka the Saturn Cop. Alright, and last but not least, we're going to be taking a look at the villain who later turns into an ally to the group, which is none other than Lucifer, and within the Japanese counterpart, he's also called Lucifer Cop. So this figure is the most interesting designs and sculpts that I've seen in an action figure back in the early 90s, because when I owned this as a kid, I just fell in love with the concept of this cool little void he has on his chest plate. I love the mouthpiece, which also is removable, and when you remove the mouthpiece, it actually has like a weirder mouth shape, but you know, it's really cooler when you just incorporate it on there like that. And he does have these double barrel guns that are on his shoulders, which looks really awesome and gives you that futuristic vibes. The oranges do complements against the white. He comes with these two guns in his hand, so he's kind of like a bounty hunter to the group. And I just love the whites on the whole design here. And the cool part is the back of his cabs are removable, so then when you lift that up, you can see the white silver trims and armor pieces inside of the actual cab, which is pretty cool. So yeah, that just adds so much unique versatility to the figure. He does have toe articulation in the back. I'm sure there's pegs for something else. I'm not sure, probably the vehicles. But the design of it with the orange eyes and then the blue piece there on the top with the little silver wing there on the top of this head just makes the figure look so damn impressive. I absolutely love it. The silver torso piece that comes down and it goes right into the center of this silver orb is really, really cool. I love his elbow pads, the back piece, and then the pins that come sticking out from the sides right there. I'm not sure if weapons can be holstered there, but never really tried. But even though you can also remove the torso piece and the back piece, and yeah, all these side pieces can be removed, so you can completely strip this figure down into a basic form of a figure. And I love how his ears, when you actually move the guns backwards, you can just see how it's a very nice, intricate design and sculpting to this figure. And yes, so cool. The back of the figure and his head, he has like the blacks set against the whites. And now when looking at Lucifer's weapons, he comes with these two unique type of, like, I don't know what you want to call this thing. Even as a kid, I never really understood it. It's like, I always used it as a really random ship, but it's like this futuristic looking blade, sword, shield type thing. I don't know. You got to give it to people in Japan for creating these very unique designs, as he holds it right here by the handle and it places right there on his forearm. So yeah, so weird and bizarre to me, but it's really cool. And then you have this one, which is like a beaming gun, and it goes right there and pegs into the forearm right there. And it does have this unique blade that sticks out from the bottoms and attaches to the top and gives it that whole blade type feature with the gun. And yeah, it's so cool. So that is Lucifer, aka the Japanese counterpart Lucifer. Alright, you guys, so that was my Takara Power Force, Police Force, ZAP or ZAC, however you want to pronounce it, whether you want the Japanese version or the American US version, as we have Zortron, aka the Saturn Cop, Destron, aka the Mars Cop, Biotron, aka the Jupiter Cop, Lucifer, aka the Lucifer Cop, and Spectron, aka the Mercury Cop. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode.